His outlet stolen by Wiggins, and that's it. This ball game is over. A W for the Dubs. And a gritty effort and a standing ovation for Golden State as they knock off the top team of the Western Conference. The final score 116-109. And maybe the confidence that this team has been lacking for the last month and a half is starting to come back.
Well, there was no lack of confidence in the final 5 minutes, in the final 12 minutes. I would say in the final half of this basketball game as the Golden State Warriors make a statement on national television. They knock off and stun, quite frankly, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the #1 team in the NBA tonight at Chase Center by a final score of 116-109. Hello, everyone. This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings with you live from the Warriors team store. Fantastic environment post-game. Was kind of walking around before picking up what, originally I think started out tonight as kind of a we'll see game, not necessarily in a positive fashion. Like, I don't know how many people came into this arena tonight with their glass half full. I think a lot of people have been a bit resigned based on the, again, 11-20 stretch that they've played over the last 31 games. This team isn't that great. This team is mid. This team is average. This team is quite literally 500. Well, number one, they're above 500 now. But I think that this is a huge boosting kind of win for the Warriors. Now, does it mean that they're going to go on a 9-2 stretch or a 12-3 stretch like they did to begin the year? No. But it shows everyone that this team is not as dead and done as they have made them out to be for, again, the better part of the last 2 months. This was a game that, Chet Holmgren was out for the Golden State, or for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Draymond Green and Jonathan Kuminga were out for the Golden State Warriors, so both teams were not at full strength. But if I told you that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to score 52 points tonight, that he would actually outscore the Warriors in the first quarter alone, the Warriors would get out-rebounded in this game. They would only make 13 threes. Steph Curry would score below his season average. How do you think this game would have gone? Like, that to me is the most fascinating part, and I think enjoyable aspect of this game is they did it in a way that we did not foresee, and they were able to withstand a freaking barrage of I would say the MVP frontrunner. He's the best player on the best team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He might not be the best player in the league. That title belongs to Nikola Jokic. But I think in terms of MVP consideration, SGA is at the top of many people's balance, and he damn well played it like it tonight. I mean, I was ready to come on Warriors wrap-up after this game and talk about, like, this was as close as what I'll say to a passing of the torch game as I have ever seen. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander came into Steph Curry's house, had 21 points in the first quarter. The Warriors only had 20. He ended up with 52. He got to the free throw line 20 times, and the rest of his team didn't really do much at all. Without SGA tonight, the Warriors actually might have ran away with this thing, which is the crazy part about it. But this was a game where the Warriors, I thought, showed grit. I thought they showed heart, and they did not roll over in a game that they very easily could have. As, again, I talked about this before the game on Warriors Live. This is the first time that I can recall, and I didn't have a chance to go through all the box scores and check it out. The latest that I got was 2021, but I cannot recall a time in which Curry was active for a Golden State Warriors home game, and they were a double-digit underdog. That just doesn't happen. They've been double-digit underdogs when he hasn't been in games, or like the entire 2020 season, in which he missed most of it. But when he's in games, the Warriors have a chance. And tonight, a double-digit underdog type of line tells me that they do not have a chance. And so I think that the Warriors came out tonight, they showed some heart, and they showed really that they could make a statement against the top team in the NBA. And this was a win that they didn't necessarily need, but it goes a long way. I mean, it was a statement, again, on national television. Was it a message to Mike Dunleavy Jr.? Was it a message to their fans? Was it a message to Joe Lacob? Was it a message to Bob Myers, who was courtside calling the game and doing it for ESPN? You know, is this a game that makes you think about the trade deadline, which is a little over a week away? February 6th, that's next Thursday. How does everybody feel after walking out of this game with a win against the best team, against the best defense in basketball, especially with the amount of elite shot making in the final 5 minutes? I mean, the Warriors went 5 for 6. Virtually all late in the shot clock. The only one that was not really late in the shot clock and that was kind of an elite look, a jump shot by the Warriors, was a Gary Payton II dunk. The poster of the night so far, the poster of the season on Isaiah Hartenstein that absolutely brought Chase Center to its knees. This place erupted. It was a moment that I have not heard at that decibel level the entire season. And you know, maybe that's a reflection of other things around Chase Center, but the point stands. Gary Payton II, that was the seminal moment of a perhaps seminal game for the Golden State Warriors. And I know you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but that's the kind of performance, especially in that fourth quarter, especially down the stretch with all these questions about the Warriors, you know, kind of last-minute offense and their half-court efficiency. They answered a lot of questions, at least for tonight. And I think a lot of people turtled up a bit when this game got shrunk. It was 106-103 with 2 minutes and 7 seconds left after Jalen Williams attacked and had a nice finish with his left hand. And at that point, after the Warriors had already been leading by, you know, comfortably about 2 or 3 baskets for the majority of the 5 minutes, it was like, the Thunder are in a position to walk the Warriors down and get out of here with a win. But then Curry steps out for a deep three on the right side. Jalen Williams comes back with an elbow jump shot, makes it a 4-point game. Curry then finds Wiggins in the corner for a late shot clock three, fading away, making it a 7-point game. Schroeder drops an offensive foul on the other side, and then the dunk that sent everyone into a tizzy, the Gary Payton II jam with the left hand, put it on top of Hartenstein, and it was an unbelievable moment in a season that hasn't been full of them. Again, this is the high point of their year. This is the win of the season. There is no doubt about that, and I'm curious how Warriors fans feel about it at 888-957-9570. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. This is from the 510. Milwaukee needs to hand over the Cream City title after the way the Dubs finished OKC tonight. We didn't even have Kuminga. You are right, 5-1-0. The Warriors didn't have Kuminga. Oklahoma City did not have Chet Holmgren. Also, Alex Caruso got hurt in the middle of this basketball game. I'm not sure how much that would have made a difference, but Caruso is certainly one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. I don't know. I don't really know how you weigh it in terms of strength and importance. Draymond's obviously a pretty important piece for the Warriors. Kuminga I think his absence has shown how important he is for Golden State. But I don't think they missed either of them tonight because everyone else played around them in the fashion that you're kind of hoping to get those contributions, if this makes sense, when they're on the floor. For example, Andrew Wiggins, by the way, who played 32 minutes last night against the Utah Jazz in a game that the Warriors clearly were fixated on Wednesday evening because they had, in my opinion, no interest in giving effort throughout the full 48 against the Jazz, certainly the way that they played against the Thunder tonight. But Andrew Wiggins played 38 minutes in this basketball game, a game high, 27 points, also a game high for the Warriors, 10 for 17, 5 for 8 from three-point range, and was also given the task of, at times, defending the number one scorer in basketball. Like you saw tonight why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averages 32 points per game. But whether he was matched up on SGA, he drew the initial assignment on probably the more physically taxing task for the Thunder, and that was Jalen Williams. And Williams was damn good in this game in terms of scoring the basketball, but Wiggins got the better of him. Like, Wiggins outplayed him tonight, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you look up, you see Wiggins, 27 points on 17 shots. Williams, 26 points on 26 shots. Wiggins was a plus 14. Williams was a minus 18. That was the Andrew Wiggins that we saw in the NBA Finals in 2022. That was an Andrew Wiggins that we have seen for glimpses over the course of the last 3 seasons. And I would say that, this kind of performance, it kind of brings into perspective, like, yes, Wiggins has had his downs, kind of his valleys, like a lot of players on this team. But Andrew Wiggins has quietly been the unsung hero for the first 47 games of this season. And I know Curry's their best player. Draymond might be their second most impactful player. Kuminga has taken the biggest leap or stride, whatever you want to make of it. But Wiggins has been their most consistent player on both ends of the floor, and you got to give him credit. And, I mean, for me, this kind of game, combined with what I've seen so far of Wiggins this season, and, he's not putting up eye-popping numbers per game, but the kind of steadiness that you've gotten from him on both ends of the floor, it makes me very reluctant to want to trade him at any point in the next 8 days. Because, and there are rumors out, Anthony Slater of The Athletic and 95.7 The Game Insider wrote a nice piece today about the options and the things that the Warriors are weighing at this point before February 6th being next Thursday. And Zach LaVine is a name that has sort of gained a lot of traction in the Warriors locker room. They see him as being more of a culture fit than someone like Jimmy Butler, who potentially could be a cheaper acquisition. Nikola Vucevic is a name that has drawn interest from the Warriors, but the Bulls might have a hang-up there. I'm sorry. I do not want to involve Andrew Wiggins in any of these deals, and the issue that the Warriors, I think, are faced with is even if you wanted to throw in a salary that was similar, say, Draymond Green, you're not going to be able to get as much back for him. And Wiggins right now is a piece that you have to use almost in its entirety if you want to go out and acquire a big salary player like a LaVine, like a Butler. Vucevic is in a different category, but my point is I don't want to move this guy. To me, he has played his ass off this season, and most notably tonight in a game that the Warriors were once more in danger of dipping below 500, as I think everybody sort of assumed. And coming off a win last night, like that's a big W. The Warriors have won 3 of 4 now. They won 5 of 8. They've won, they've been steadying this ship going back to the beginning of January. Like, I know December was not kind to them. And I discussed at the beginning of that month just how tough of a trek that was going to be, as they played only one team during that entire month that was below 500 when they played them. And that was the Indiana Pacers, who, of course, they lost to. But in the month of January, things soften up a bit. You're getting games against Detroit. I know they lost to Toronto, but the Washingtons, the Chicagos, the Utahs, who they're going to get next week. And all of a sudden, with this win, it does mean that they have to go for dubs. Like, they don't have to chase wins. You would obviously like to get them. Friday is a winnable game against a Phoenix team that you've already beaten once this season. So far, I've split the season series with. Orlando's a team that comes in on Monday at home that wraps up a homestand. That it's going to be a tough game. You're going to see some really good young talent in Wagner and Banchero. But then after that, it's Utah. Like, right now, you're looking at what the homestand started as, which in my opinion was as pivotal as any point in this season. You look at the start of it, right? You go 1-1 versus Washington and Boston. And then I kind of include Sacramento, and I know it's a road game, but you're on the West Coast. You go up and you bust back down. Then you split that back-to-back. You lose to the Lakers. Okay, you're 3-2 your first 5 games of the homestand. This is a massive swing for the remainder of the homestand because you're probably going to beat Utah, and now all you have to do is split with Phoenix or Orlando, and you're looking at a plus 500 homestand or 9-game stretch. And now you can also get greedy before you go on the road for some games that have some tough opponents. But it's also right before the deadline. Again, I think this was a statement game for the Warriors at an important part of their season, knowing what is coming up next Thursday, knowing the decisions that this front office is going to have to make, and is going to have to decide whether the Warriors are going to be buyers or perhaps even sellers. There's been some theories, as much as Slater wrote about the trade targets for the Golden State Warriors. There's also been some hypotheses about the Warriors moving to get under the luxury tax to sort of reset their books in a sense so that this summer they're not going to be hit with the repeater tax, that they can dip back into the first or even second apron and not be as hampered by some of those financial aspects. That is something that they also have to weigh against because, for example, the Warriors are a team that I've seen out there, depending on what you're looking at, but Gary Payton II is a player that's an expiring contract. Kevon Looney is someone that they can use to get under the luxury tax. Those two players were massive in this basketball game, especially Kevon Looney. And Gary Payton II, don't get me wrong, was damn good in this game. But Kevon Looney has also emerged. Like, this was a throwback Looney game tonight. He had 18 points off the bench, made 8 of 9 free throws. And I know he's not a terrible free throw shooter, but he ain't certainly a 90% for a type of free throw shooter, as it seems like the Warriors team store is calling it quits on the rest of their customers as well as the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. But Kevon Looney was a plus 14 in this game off the bench, and in a game that also the Warriors, I think, are trying to wrestle with what they're going to do at their center position. Like, Quentin Post started tonight for the Dubs and was a guy that was largely ineffective. I mean, he kind of got played off the floor, picked up 3 personal fouls in 8 minutes. He got his first personal foul in the first 15 seconds of this game trying to play against Isaiah Hartenstein. And for the fact that TJD has essentially been erased from this type of center rotation, the fact that Looney has stepped in the way he hasn't made a stink about being the third man pretty much the entire season. He hasn't made a stink about his playing time going up and down. He's stayed ready, and he's been the Iron Man that he always has been. Also had 4 massive blocks in this game, including 1 late down the stretch that prevented the Thunder from cutting it to a 1-score game. So overall, contributions from everywhere. Gary Payton II, also massive in this game. 15 points, 5 of 5 at the free throw line. Had 9 rebounds to lead everyone in this game. And the Warriors decided that they're going to try and play small against the Thunder. This was something that I also noted pregame. It's how do the Warriors match up against fast teams? They play better against teams that play with pace, and the Thunder are top 7 in the league. I didn't think it'd mean that they would win this game. By no means was I predicting a massive upset here tonight, but it's a bit more favorable for their playing style, especially because the Warriors don't really have an ability to go big, but they can go small when they put GP2 at the 4, when they use certain forwards off the bench. Moses Moody plays a little bit more of the 4. Pajemski can play in. I know people hate Steve Kerr's quote-unquote 4-guard rotations, but tonight, in the final seconds, it was Steph, it was Schroeder, it was Buddy Hield, it was Gary Payton II, and it was Kevon Looney. That's a really small 5-man lineup against one of the more physically imposing basketball teams in the league. And lo and behold, the Warriors walked away with a victory, 116-109. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Let's get out to our first call of the evening. Again, bring them on in, get into the conversation. Eric's out in Millbrae, wants to talk about the game. Eric, my man, what's going on? How you doing?
What's up, man? Just incredible game. You could probably say that, to me, the win of the season, with the way the Warriors have been struggling all season, they've been up and down, but predictable. They've beaten Boston. They've beaten OKC twice on the road there. So they went into shorthanded, beaten Minnesota. So they've shown they can beat some of the league teams, but they've also lost to a lot of mediocre and subpar teams. So I thought tonight they battled, but I thought OKC would take it to them. And if you told me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would drop 52 on them and the Warriors would still get the W, I wouldn't have thought that was impossible. This was a lot like the strength and number Warriors. As you just mentioned before I got on the line here, just incredible. I thought Wiggins was outstanding. That's why I want to keep him. The people just willy-nilly throwing him around, get him. I don't think Jimmy Butler is that much better than him. So to me, Wiggs, I know he can disappear at times, but when he's locked in, you see what he can do and how important it is to this Warrior team. Curry was, even though shots were falling, he's an incredible shot. And then you mentioned GP2. He's just that energy guy, and when he's on, he's really important to what these Warriors do. And I just love Looney, and that's why I want to keep him. He can beat his teams. Udonis Haslam, a guy you can keep around. He's the ultimate professional. He always does what's asked of him, never complains about his role. And to me, I think he could be a lifetime Warrior like the Miami did with Udonis Haslam. The numbers may not wow you, but he's the ultimate professional. He's what you want to do. He's like a coach's player right on the court. So that's why I want to keep him around, just to be a mentor to a lot of these young guys and seeing, even if you're not playing, you always stay ready, get your time. And that's why I love Looney, and he shows out when he's relied upon to. So I just thought the ultimate incredible win tonight. Hats off to the starters and bench, and just an incredible game. And hopefully a win like this against probably the best right now could really spark plug this team. So I'm going to the game on Friday against Phoenix. I hope the Warriors have the same energy and mindset against Phoenix. Don't let your guard down and revert to your old form after a great win, reverting back to and getting your butts kicked on Friday night. So this was an incredible win. Enjoy this one, and I want to see this on Friday night. The place will be rocking like it does at Chase Center, like it was tonight. Great win tonight. Thanks for the time, man.
Appreciate it, Eric. I mean, look, the crowd was forced to get on its feet. Like, I'm not going to make excuses. This crowd was, in my opinion, for the kind of game that it was, there was not as much juice as I thought, especially down the stretch of the second half, as sort of I at least felt like there should have been. I mean, coming out of a timeout with 4 minutes left, it was like there was no defense chance. There was no one standing. I will give credit. There was a lot of diehards in the crowd tonight that were clapping, that were loud. But I mean, if you got 20,000, you got to use it. And Chase Center, like, the Warriors extracted it out of them, and it's obviously a massive contrast. It'll never be like it was in Oakland at Roracle, but it was. I mean, with GP2, that is probably the highest, the loudest that I have heard Chase Center this season, and it was fun, man. Like, those are the kinds of moments. Like, there was a quote earlier this year from Steve Kerr, and he was talking about Curry, and he got some flack for it, and I kind of understand, but he was talking about some of the moments that Steph can provide, and it might not be another championship, right? But like those kinds of moments, I know it wasn't Curry exactly, but like those kinds of moments are why we continue to watch and support this team. It's because they still have greatness left in them. It's not going to be every single night. I mean, odds are they're not going to beat both Phoenix and Orlando. Those are two really good basketball teams. And just because they won this game doesn't all of a sudden mean they're back to being title contenders. That's a really good win tonight. But I think, again, it's a statement at an important part of the season, because they have some really difficult choices that they have to make 8 days from now. And I just wonder, and I said this on Signing Guru earlier today, and I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow, does this mean that people want them to go for it, or does it mean that people think that the Warriors have enough? Because in my mind, for what they have to give in order to get something worth of value, it's just a really fine line that they have to walk. If they want to acquire a big salary player, that probably includes someone like Andrew Wiggins. After this game tonight, why the hell would I want to move Andrew Wiggins? Why the hell would I want to trade a player that can be, and tonight he was, the best two-way player on the floor, and that includes a team that had a guy who went for 52. Like, Wiggins may have been the most impactful player on the floor this evening. I know he didn't score 50, but my point is he did everything, and he hit big shots for the Warriors. He had a couple of key impactful defensive possessions. He was guarding his ass off. And he also, again, the Warriors did this, but Wiggins did this on the tail end of a back-to-back. He has played 70 minutes in the last 48 hours. Well, the last 24 hours if you want to include, the finish last night against the Jazz. But it was an extremely impressive performance by him. And for many parts of this game, he put the Warriors on his back. And Curry was able to chip in, but he really struggled in this game. That's one thing, too, that I also noticed about Steph. Like, the frustration. The frustration for me was apparent for Steph tonight. And I think it's number one because he really wanted to get this game. Like, you could tell that this game, there was something personal about it. I don't know if it's because the Thunder are sort of the up-and-comers and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is being crowned as the next great point guard in the NBA and is going to be the new face of I don't know. I don't know what it is about the Thunder that really seems to irritate Curry. We know it irritates Draymond because they do all their post-game pressers together, and he'll speak on anybody. But Curry, he was frustrated with his start in this game, and he did not start very well. He had 4 points in the first half and was probably a big reason why the Warriors were down at the break, and this was not looking like a game that was going their way. And they came out in the third quarter. I think what flipped this game, and yes, the Thunder went 9 of 39 from three-point range. Outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they got to the free throw line 4 times. The combination of SGA, Jalen Williams, and Isaiah Joe scored 95 of the 109 points for the Thunder. Like, they had no other help tonight. Aaron Wiggins couldn't hit a shot. Cason Wallace couldn't hit a shot. Lou Dort was throwing up bricks. The 1-3 that Kenrick Williams took from the corner was a freaking line drive that almost hit the backboard. So they didn't have much help in this game. And Dagnall was certainly searching for it. But this is a young and up-and-coming squad that, again, I talked about it before the game, that a lot of people are crowning. And I think Curry, as a competitive MFer as he is saying, not yet. Not yet. And it might be close. By the end of the season, if the Thunder are able to hoist the championship and do all the things that people are putting right before they actually do, they will be crowned as the kings of the West. And they're certainly the best team right now, in my estimation, in the NBA. But it doesn't mean that the best team can't get beat. On a given night, the Warriors have the ability to go and get a game like this. And it's also an opponent that, based on their standing in the Western Conference, that based on, I think, a lot of people's projections for them as being a sort of a play-in team or around a play-in team, they might have to go play OKC in the first round, because I don't see a team that's going to catch them in the Western Conference. So the fact that the Warriors have also now beaten the Thunder 2 times out of 3, that's a confidence-boosting victory for a team that has not been playing with a lot of confidence. Again, remember, less than a month ago, this was a team that, quote-unquote, had a crisis of confidence. They no longer look like a team that has a crisis of confidence anymore after beating the best team in the NBA. Again, a statement win on national television, 116-109, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Let's get back out to the phone lines and talk to Rich in Fremont. Rich, what's going on, my man? Welcome to the program. How are you?
Mr. Giddings, thank you for taking my call, sir. Really, at the end of the day, what this is about what I've been saying all year round, and that is that this is a game where everybody came to play. Everyone contributed. There was no loose ends. Everybody showed up. Everybody played. And you know why? Because they all knew that, hey, this is one of those games. This is a game you're taking on the number 1 seed. So guess what? The gauntlet is here. You cannot get around this. You either play or guess what? You get shut down. And at the end of the day, what did these guys do? They all showed up. Everybody contributed. See, this is what team basketball is all about. This is what it's all about. You play team basketball and you play accurately, you can take out the number 1 seed. It can happen. You look at OKC tonight, You didn't see everybody contributing. Yeah, Shai Gilgeous got what he got, but the rest of the team, were they there? No. But you look at Golden State across the board. Hey, let's keep it real. Hey, look, you put up 21 points, but the rest of the team, what did they do? Everybody contributed. And because of that, guess what? You beat the best team in the West, which means what? You play team basketball, you get the wins. And that's the recipe for success. And that's the recipe moving forward. This team has to understand, if you're going to get wins, if you're going to be in the play-in, if you're going to even consider for the playoffs, you have to play team basketball. Stop worrying about Steph and what he's doing. Look, everybody else contribute. And that's what happened tonight. Everybody contributed, and look what happened. They got to do it against the best team in the West. Hats off to the Golden State Warriors. Fine job, gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, Rich. Couldn't have said it better. I think so. Look, it's accurate, man. I mean, it did. It literally took everybody for them to win this game. And I think it's interesting you bring up that team sort of effort, Rich, because you look at the Oklahoma City side, it was an individual effort. Like, again, if I told you at the beginning of this game that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to outscore the Warriors in the first quarter alone, the Warriors are going to go down 14, SGA was going to outscore them 21-20. He's going to finish with 52 points. Now, it's the second time in his career he's scored 50. He had his 50-burger last week, a week to the day, against the Utah Jazz, ironically, also a close game, but he had 54. They won that game. The Warriors will get out-rebounded. They will only make 13 threes. Curry is going to score below his season average. How do you think this game would have gone? Because I would have told you the Warriors would have got blown out. I would have told you that this was a game that they were going to lose. But they forced SGA into being a one-on-one attacker. They basically dared the others to beat them in this game. I thought that they didn't compromise their defense just because SGA was going off. And he was urinating on the Chase Center floor tonight. He was giving it to anybody that would take it. And I realize that he's a free throw merchant and he draws a lot of weak contact. But you got to admit, watching that game, especially that first quarter, like that dude's got skills, man. There is a reason why he has been a first-team All-NBA player each of the past 2 seasons. There is a reason why he will be starting on February 16th at the NBA All-Star Game, about 15 feet from where I'm currently planted, alongside Steph Curry. Like, that's a bad man. But the Warriors forced him into being the only option for this team. And I don't know if that's necessarily the blueprint to beat the Thunder, because, again, they're not whole. They're going to get Chet Holmgren back. Caruso, again, got hurt in this game. But the Warriors, to me, the way that they defended SGA, the way that they defended the Thunder, that is something that you can see carrying against other opponents, because when the Warriors are at their best, and I think when the game changed for me, when it flipped, was in the third quarter. They outscored them 36-26. But what they did in that quarter is they played with pace and they played with defense. They held OKC to just 9 of 24, less than 40% shooting in that quarter. They got a ton of possessions. Wiggins was aggressive. And it didn't matter that SGA, he was up to 43. It was at the free throw line 19 times. But to me, it was how fast they tried to get up and down the court. And an 11-0 run midway through that quarter allowed them to separate. Really, after Wiggins hit the three just before the half, which quietly was a massive basket because they were going to go down in the break 13, I thought in the first half, like SGA he owned that half. When he came back in with about 5 or 6 minutes left in the second quarter, it was a close game. The Warriors had clawed their way back to 6 after being down 14 going into the quarter. SGA comes back in, and they immediately take control. They go up by 13. SGA was a plus 18 in the first half, had 31 points, was giving it to everybody. And then Wiggins hits a massive sort of late heave on the right wing right before the half. And from that point, the Warriors carry that momentum into the third quarter. They came out, and what also they did, they went to a zone against the Thunder. And a little bit of it is pretty much daring them to miss shots, and the Thunder could not make a three in this game to save their lives. But the Warriors adjusted. I think for the first time I've seen them defensively really against an elite opponent this season to try and do something that would take away the strength of the Oklahoma City Thunder, which was, at least for a moment in the third quarter, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just slow him down, force others to take shots. They weren't involved at all in the first half of this game, and so they weren't really able to, I think, get into any rhythm shooting the basketball. Again, Jalen Williams was good in this game, but he had 26 points on 26 shots. So to me, where the game flipped was in the third quarter, and then obviously you have to give credit to the elite shot making in the fourth quarter. They went 5 of 6 in the final 5 minutes of that basketball game. Pods had a huge step back long two late in the shot clock. Andrew Wiggins had a massive corner three late in the shot clock. Curry obviously had a couple of deep threes, including one step back. And then GP2 brought it home with the hammer. It was it was so interesting watching that final 5 minutes because both sides were going back and forth, but it was virtually all late in the shot clock, and it was almost the antithesis of what we've been watching the entire season in the half court, in crunch time, in clutch time. That was the game that the Warriors lose, like 9 times out of 10. And while this may have been the 10th time, the fact that it came against the number one defense in basketball, the number one team in basketball, that is something that I do have to carry with me, even if the Warriors are back at 500 after Friday. Like that's a statement victory tonight, and certainly an important one. A reminder, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live in the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. All right, let's get back onto the phone lines, 888-957-9570. If you got any texts, we can get those in, too. I see our people on YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's go to Chardall and Fremont, Cam, if we can. Chardall, if you're still there, what's going on? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Hey, Ivan, it's great calling in 95.7 The Game. I'm a big fan of your radio network. I always listen to you when I'm going on the car after a great after the ending of a Warriors game. I love your network. I try calling in every time I get the chance. I definitely try and call. This was a great win for the Warriors. They took down the Thunder 116-109, despite SGA's impressive 52-point display. But they still end up getting the loss. I think this was a great win. We definitely took down the number one best team in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think we brought our A game to this in this matchup. Definitely got a lot of great teams remaining in the schedule. So right now, but I think if we keep playing like this every single night, we might end up making it to the playoffs or the finals, which is definitely the direction that all Warrior fans want this team to eventually go to.
Yep.
But I think it was great. I mean, we definitely, SGA had a great performance, but that was great. I think SGA is a great player. I think he has a lot of talent. He definitely is not afraid to let that show. But it was a great win, and it was definitely a very entertaining matchup. But I definitely love calling in, and I love everything you have. A lot of people that call into the show. I'll definitely call in next time. It's great it's great that you had me on the show.
Appreciate it.
And I hope you have a great night.
Yeah, you too, Chardall. Thank you for calling in always. One of our favorites here on Warriors Wrap-Up. I think it's hard to not contain your joy after this win. It's a big one. Like, enjoy it. Putting the cart before the horse as far as the playoffs or titles is something I'm not doing yet. I'm enjoying this game. Like, that was a fun basketball game to watch. And in the micro, it's a massive win. In the macro, they're 24-23. Look at the standings right now. It didn't really move the needle that much. They're a half game closer to the 10 seed, or actually they're tied right now with the 10 seed because Sacramento lost to Philadelphia tonight, and the Kings still have the tiebreaker. But, you're a half game from ninth. You play that team who lost. The Phoenix Suns did tonight in Minnesota. You play the Suns on Friday. That's a big matchup. You got Dallas. That's a game and a half out. And look, and lo and behold, you're 3 games from the 6th seed. That's kind of how the Warriors have to approach it. Each and every game is its own entity. And I think they showed tonight that they can play with anybody. If you can beat the best team in basketball, you can beat anyone. And I think that's kind of the broader takeaway that the Warriors have to try and roll with, because the confidence that had been really shaken before the turn of the new year, I think, is beginning to correct itself. And again, this was a team that last year was 5 games below 500 entering around the new year of January, and they went on a 27-12 stretch to end the season. Now, that might be the stretch they have to do in order to get to the postseason, to get to the play-in. But again, like, the NBA is just so strange, and they might come out and lose on Friday. But I'm gonna be watching. Like, the Warriors are must-watch entertainment, and that's not something they have been able to boast for the better part of a month and a half. And that is, to me, where they have also turned a corner. Before we hit a break here, Cam, if we could, I do want to listen to the chef, because he was on ESPN after this game and had a couple of words. Remember last time he told everybody to shut up and get off of Twitter? Let's hear what he had to say after this big win of 116-109 against the best team in basketball.
Thanks, Dave. Steph, so many contributions tonight in this victory. How did you beat the best team in the NBA?
We just stayed solid, like you said. Wiggins gave us a scoring boost in the third quarter. Big three down the stretch. Looney was everywhere. Gave us good finish at the rim when they were selling out on pick and rolls. And Dennis, man, he was like, if you look at the box, this one you got to watch the game where he controlled a lot of those possessions. So it was just all-around effort, GP. Unbelievable way to finish, too.
You guys have been scuffling a little bit because of injuries and whatnot. You could get Draymond back next week. What does those reinforcements mean to this group as you guys continue to try to push forward?
We need every win possible. It's been a rough go for a long time. We haven't really developed anything consistent in terms of the win column. So this is a great test. OKC, obviously the best team in the West. We played well against them. 3 out of 3 games. Just glad we got 2 of them. But we need every win, and we need everybody to step up no matter who's out there.
Tonight, you guys got your ring, you and Steve Kerr from the Olympics, which is another cool moment to celebrate. But you also passed Ray Allen on the scoring list, 27th. What do those moments mean to you, Steph?
You see the gray hair? It just means you're blessed to keep playing this game at a high level. I thank God every day that this is the space I've been able to live in for 16 years. The names, I put AI a couple weeks ago, Ray today, like guys that I grew up watching, my generation, who inspired me to love the game the way I do. So definitely special. So shout out to Ray.
Steph, congratulations. Thank you for the time as always.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys, back to you.
That audio courtesy of ESPN after the Warriors again get a 116-109 win against the best team in basketball, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They survive a 52 ball from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They get contributions from everywhere. Andrew Wiggins leads the way with 27 points in a game-high 38 minutes. Steph Curry adds 21, 17 of which in the second half. Kevon Looney, as he mentioned on the postgame, was sensational. 18 points off the bench in 25 minutes to go along with 5 blocks. Gary Payton II was instrumental in this basketball game. 5 of 7 from the floor, 15 points, plus 12. 5 of 5 at the free throw line, also had 9 rebounds in this game. Pajemski also had, again, he only played 18 minutes, but he played his part, had 11 points off the bench, had a massive step back to late in crunch time that was necessary for the Warriors to get this win. Even some of the players who didn't necessarily play well in this game, Guy Santos was a minus 12, but he brought some energy. Buddy Hield, who, just started 0 of 4, finished 2 of 2 from the floor. Was a plus 7 in this game, and that's a player that also had 4 assists, second most on the team. Even some of the players that did not play well, whether it be starters or bench players, they found ways to make contributions. Moses Moody was 0 of 6 from three-point range in this game, but he was a plus 5 because he was scrappy, he was diving for balls, and I think he was allowed to expend himself because Steve Kerr again tonight showed that he's willing to go 10 deep, or maybe when Draymond and Kuminga come back, 11 or 12 deep. I don't think this rotation is set. Like Quentin Post was a little bit unfair. He got his first NBA start tonight against the best team in basketball and got played off the floor in the first 8 minutes. That doesn't mean that Kerr's done going to him, but it means that someone like Looney has to step in and play bigger minutes and account for the fact that the Rook wasn't his night against a really good basketball team. got exposed a little bit. He'll get back to the grindstone and come back and play, I'm sure, 15 to 20 minutes against the Phoenix Suns on Friday. Like, that's how the Warriors, I think, have to, again, get back into this mindset of an enduring stretch, an arduous stretch, and approach it with a workmanlike manner. This is not the finesse and light them up 120-point-per-game scoring squad that we have seen in years past. This is a team that has to be defense first, that has to be versatile, and that is going to see a different face on the marquee as far as leader or hero of this game each and every night. Tonight, it was Andrew Wiggins. He was the best player for the Warriors in this game. Steph Curry was not the best player, and he didn't even play last night. Dennis Schroeder, whose night it was last night, had some big plays down the stretch of this game. 9 and 7 assists off the bench in 26 minutes. He also played well. Kyle Anderson, who apparently can't make a layup or a floater to save his life, gave the Warriors 15 big minutes. He was a +4. All of those kind of miniature contributions, you're going to look in the box score and say, what did that guy do? What did that guy do? Well, it's about the Warriors right now, and in this game have been a sum of their parts. And that's been the most important part to me. Like, trying to figure out how to puzzle piece together these wins. And I know when they do it against a team like the Jazz, it's not that impressive, but you cannot take anything away from what they did tonight against the number one team in basketball, beating the Thunder 116 to 109. We're going to step aside, take a break, and come back here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Evan Giddings with you from the Warriors team store right outside of Chase Center inside of Thrive City. Feel free to stop by, as always, pre and post for all your best Warriors gear. But when we come back, we're going to listen to Steve Kerr, dig deeper into some of the big-picture aspects of where the Warriors are at in their season, 24 and 23, again, after their win against the Thunder. Evan Giddings with you back after this on 95.7 The Game.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
All right, getting you all caught up. I mean, this was a hell of a basketball game. Warriors defeat the Thunder 116-109. They beat the best team in the NBA to move above 500, 24-23, now a half game out of the 10 slot. 3 games out, by the way, of the 6 seed. They got the Phoenix Suns, who they're a half game back of for the 9, coming into town on Friday to take on the Warriors at Chase Center. I mean, as statement of a win as always, as any, I should say. Statement of a win as any, and a big one at this point of the season. I have some big picture takeaways I want to get to, but before we do, if we have any calls, please line them up. 888-957-9570 is the number from our text line for the 510. That's how they have to play all the time. I do question how consistently they can get this done when they're playing as many guys as they do, just because pieces are not always going to work in synchronicity like they do tonight, especially against a team of that caliber. But I do think that the effort and energy is something that's what they can control every single game. And it's hard to play like that when you're getting 3 out of 4 nights or the back-to-backs that they did, but they really pushed themselves. And so I'm curious to see how they come out on Friday against a Phoenix team that they've split so far in the season with, but I think that they could beat. 209, Dubs have Thunder on notice. They don't want to be any part of them in a playoff series. Matchup nightmare for them. Again, I do think the Warriors play better when they play faster. And the Thunder are a team that are 7th in pace. When they push it, the Warriors are also, I think, able to play in more of a rhythm, especially their younger players. You know, without Draymond out there, with the Warriors, I think, playing a little more young, the Santoses, the Moses Moody's, the Pajemskis, Gary Payton II even, for example, those players, when they play fast, they really can change the flow and the outcome of a game. From the 6-2-8, Warriors are in the heads of OKC, struggle against this gritty squad, even though they have the best record in the NBA. I do think there is something to OKC being a little young, right? They're 24 years of age across the board. Their most veteran player in this game was probably Hartenstein, or maybe Caruso, but he got hurt. I do think the Warriors have somewhat of a psychological advantage over them. And they have players that have been in bigger moments before. Wiggins has played in NBA Finals. Curry, obviously. GP2. Kevon Looney. Those are the players, those are the veterans that really set the tone for this game. The more that I think about it, they led the way. From the 415, I felt the crowd tonight. And from the 510, we won a real game tonight. Well, someone who wants to talk about the crowd is Eric in Mill Valley before we get to Steve Kerr. Eric, you're at the game tonight. Is that correct? What's going on?
Yeah, that's correct. I was at the game tonight, and frankly, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of the championship with Steph Curry that I was at Cleveland in 2015.
Wow.
And I was devastated to listen to the lack of noise coming out of the crowd at Chase. It made me miss Oracle. And I've been at Oracle against the Thunder when KD was playing against them, and the sound from the crowd was absent tonight. If I was Loeb sitting with half of the lower part of the court empty on his side facing the team, I would have been embarrassed tonight.
Oh, gotcha. That's it, Eric. Well, did you enjoy the game otherwise? No, he dropped off. Okay, I got you. Well, look, as someone that grew up in the East Bay, like I'm from El Cerrito, California, born at Alta Bates, there's never going to be another Oracle. There just isn't. We're never going to get those moments back. And part of it was the greatness that the Warriors consistently brought to the floor. Part of it was also the fact that they'd been such a dormant franchise for such a long time with a loyal fan base. And again, when you have that pent-up frustration, I think, of all those years, and I grew up going to games as a kid and still rooting for, the Corey Maggettis or rooting for the Beadrins or rooting for the Kalena Azabukis, who's now calling games for them. You know, when the Warriors started to get really that juice in the building, there was nothing like it. And so, sure, it's never going to be the same. You're always going to compare it to what it once was. But I will say that this was the loudest that I've heard it this season, and it was after the Gary Payton II dunk. It was not deafening, but it was definitely really loud. And I think it's kind of like the Warriors season. You got to take those little victories because you're never going to get Oracle back, and it sucks. But you have to try and bring as much energy as you can to the new building. And hopefully one day we can maybe get back to that point. I doubt it, but I appreciate the input. All right, let's listen to Steve Kerr. Talked after this game about a multitude of things. Best win of the season for the Warriors, bar none. Biggest statement victory this season. Here's the head coach.
Steve, you mentioned before the game you wanted to keep Shai off the line. That didn't work out so well, but overall,
under 30, I was hoping, and so we got the job done. Yeah.
But overall, what did you see from your defense after the first quarter or so?
Well, we battled. That was the main thing. And Shai is, he's incredible. I mean, everyone knows that, and he's impossible to guard. So he did his thing, but I thought the second half we were much more disciplined. Didn't give up much easy stuff, and they only made 9 threes, which was a huge part of the game. They missed some open ones, but all in all, I just thought our second half intensity, the way everybody scrapped out there, every single guy who came on the floor just scrapped and gave us great minutes, and I could go up and down the roster, but it was kind of a vet game. Loon, Gary, Kyle, Wiggs, all these guys just came through. Dennis was amazing. Second half, especially defensively, and so our guys came up big against best team in the league. So great win.
How much did you need this? Did this group need this type of win?
I think this group, we know they're capable, and what we saw early in the year was not a mirage. You don't just fall into that. But watching the tape of the OKC game that we played on the road early in the season when we were rolling, you could just see a bounce in our step. There was a look in our eye, and I didn't see that tonight early in the game. We've struggled to play with that bounce and that confidence here the last month or so. So it's great to see us fight through that and then kind of reach that state in the second half where you could see the belief, you could see the energy, and felt like we captured that again. And now we got to sustain it, obviously.
Buddy did not give you much in the first half, played just that one stint. Did you think about not starting him in the second half? And then he comes out, hits those 2 shots, 4 assists, I think, in that stint.
Yeah.
What did that kind of opening of the third quarter mean to you?
Well, I didn't think about not starting him. Even when Buddy doesn't make shots, he pulls defenders with him. There's a sense that the game is making sense because it's catch and shoot. If he's open, he's shooting. I know, he hasn't been making them consistently lately, but there's a flow to the game when he's out there. So I thought his 2 hoops early in the third were really important. Then he had the pass to Loon for the dunk, off the pin down. So Buddy gave us a huge lift in that third.
Steve, was that like the quintessential GP2 game? Like, he seemed to play defense, rebound, made some good passes, hit shots. Is that like the ideal of him?
Yeah. That's why Gary is so crucial to our team and to our success. I say it all the time, but the 22 finals shifted as soon as Gary got healthy after game 1. We won 4 out of 5 games, and a huge part of that was his defense, his energy, his playmaking, screening. He's such a unique player. There's nobody like him in the league. He's basically a 6'2" power forward with jets in his feet, and great feel too, like a really interesting feel. Not so much as a guard, but as a rolling big, and so he creates an advantage for us defensively, but also a different look offensively with his diving and finishing. So Gary's huge for us, and when he plays like that, we're tough to beat.
I think it was really well put and a great note to end on. And this is kind of going to be my final message here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, live at the T Store. Stop on by pre-post game. Check us out on YouTube and Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. But, this win was about the champions. And Curry did not play great in this game. He had 17 in the second half, was not good in the first half. Wiggins was sensational throughout this game. Kevon Looney stepped in when they needed him to, plus 14, 18 minutes, had the 4 blocks. Gary Payton II had the seminal moment of a perhaps seminal game as we look back later in this season with a dunk on Hardenstein that brought the crowd to its feet. Those 4 players, along with Draymond, who was inactive for this game, are the remaining remnants of the last and final, perhaps, championship of this era, of this dynasty. And you see why those players are still so important in the biggest moments against the best team in the NBA. Kerr relied on his champions. And it's why at the deadline, I feel like it's so difficult to look at a deal and say, I want to involve Wiggins in this move. I want to get off Looney. I want to involve Gary Payton II. And it all makes sense, right? Wiggins gives you money to add. GP2 and Looney expiring contracts. You can help get under a certain threshold of the tax. I do not want to move those players. After watching this game, after what I've seen them be able to do together at their best, I cannot give up on the champs. And it's not as if we're saying, all right, all of a sudden they're title contenders. But when those players, along with the addition of their younger core, of an emerging core, are allowed to play with freedom, with pace, with energy, with effort, they have a chance. And I think that's what they proved tonight, is they deserve to play out the remainder of this season and determine how far they go. Is there a player the Warriors could add at the deadline around the margins or probably bring in? Perhaps, but it cannot involve the champs, the players from the 2022 NBA Finals that helped win them that series against Boston. Curry, Wiggins, GP2, Looney. I do not want them to go anywhere after watching them beat the number 1 team in basketball, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 116-109. It's kind of my lasting message from this game is those 4 players, they scored the top 4 amount of points. They had the 4 best plus minuses in this game. They were the most impactful players in this game, bar none. They had the biggest moments. They made the biggest plays, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they have played in those moments and in those games before. So I'll leave you with that. I do think that we're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow. I know certainly on our show, on Steiny and Gruber from 10 to 2, we got a lot to break down. But Bonte and Shasky obviously got you locked from 6 to 10. Dial in at 95.7 the game early in the morning for that. And then, of course, from 2 to 6, Willard and Dibs Grandy is in for Dibs. But a big thank you to everybody out there that listened to this edition of Warriors Wrap-Up. Big thank you to everybody who called in, everybody who has texted in, everyone on YouTube and Twitch, powered by First and Cal Credit Union. Big thank you to Cameron Williams, our network coordinator, hanging up late with me. Big thank you to R.C. Davis, who sent us off before, Tim Roy, and Tom Tolbert, who called the game. As always, next time we will talk to you will be on Friday, 6 o'clock, Warriors live before the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant comes back to town. The Warriors, if they win that game, they can jump back into playing. They can jump as far as 9th, in fact, if they can beat the Suns. So we'll see if they can move 2 games above 500 for the first time in quite some time. But as of tonight, let's enjoy this one. They beat the best team in basketball, and they did it together. 116-109 to defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder. Big thank you to everyone. As always, my name is Evan Giddings saying so long. I'll talk to you next time right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game.